Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1346. I forgot yesterday was 1345. Almost like we were counting, but we missed a 2. So that was pretty monumental. Today, 1346. Meh, who cares? It's Friday. It's Mike. The sun comes up early now. I'm greeted by the sun as I enter my office building at 5 a.m.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I enjoy that. Today, Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, Mike Matthews here at Cafe Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. And there is nothing more than I want than to pull my smartphone out of my pocket. It's really... wow. I'm on it. Look at this. I'm on it now, and I'm looking, and it says Yelp.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hot and new. A new Mongolian place just opened near you is what it says. That's what I love
Mike's
about Fremont.
Daily
So much diversity.
Podcast.
So many different foods you can eat.
Yeah!
Chris Cornell, not to change topics and get sad really quick, but Chris Cornell is I'm still shocked by that. I want to tell you, though, I was not the biggest Soundgarden fan. I'm a huge Audioslave fan. I love Tom Morello, and I loved Chris's voice as he reached his 30s or 40s. He was really, that voice, look who just walked in, that voice was just so... he reserved it. He brought it down a bit, and I just loved those songs. And what was the one? Like a Stone. Oh God! And then Tom Morello's crazy guitar solo on that. Great song. And they were kind of eulogizing him yesterday on KFOG with No Name was talking about him. Look who else walked in, and it was very nice. He played something off of an Audioslave album that I never heard of before, and it was great. You know, it's sad. I had a friend named Matt Cooper, who I've talked about on the show before, who reminded me a lot of Chris Cornell. That was a sound effect for no apparent reason. And you know, sometimes you need sound effects for no apparent reason. But Chris Cornell was, and Matt Cooper seemed to be the same. Matt Cooper is no longer with us either, but I see the two of them up in heaven talking right now in my mind, is all I'm saying. And maybe that soap opera sound effect was more of an organ playing for the people in heaven.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Playing for the folks that are no longer with us, that are in the divine realm. The podcast picture is not a divine realm, but it is pretty cool. It's a marina in Benicia. Is this the second Benita picture this week? No. Maybe. And it is a beautiful marina. I love walking around it with my dog, Basil the Boxer. And a bunch of people walked in. Look who they are.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Julian Assange, the kitchen chef supervisor. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking about Chris Cornell.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer, Mike. I enjoyed Chris Cornell's music. You were in a Soundgarden? Spin Man and Black Hole Sun and all that? Yeah, it was really good. So, yeah, it's very sad. Okay, I'm going to move on to something else. And that is another 90s band called Del-Amitri. Do you know that you might be going, who the hell is Del-Amitri? I loved Del-Amitri. They had a song that first got played on American radio called Kiss This Thing Goodbye. Come on, baby, let's kiss this thing goodbye. And I just did a perfect rendition of it. They were a wonderful band. I got that album, the first album, I think it was called Waking Hours. I think they were Scottish, and I used to listen to it over and over again. I remember driving from Santa Barbara up to the Bay Area, up to Concord, because I was dating a girl that lived in Walnut Creek, actually. No, in Concord, that's right. And I drove all the way up to see her, and my car blew up. But long story short, the end. No, I remember listening to Del-Amitri on the way up there in that album. Well, they had another album after that had a song called Always the Last to Know. That got some airplay. And Just Like a Man. That was a great song. Then, the album after that spawned a song called Roll to Me, and it sounded like this. Look into your world, pretty baby. Is it everything that you thought it'd be? The right time, the wrong situation, the right guy, and you roll to me. Well, that song is like exactly 2 minutes long, and a lot of radio stations use that because if you're not in radio, here's a little secret. If there's not enough music in an hour, they sometimes have to grab a song. It used to be DJs back in the day, but now it's a computer that goes, oh, I need exactly 2 minutes. Nothing more, nothing less. I'll grab Delamitri. So Delamitri's Roll to Me still gets played all the time on radio stations, even though it's not like a song they typically will play. I will play a Roll to Me. I will play Delamitri. It just kind of gets thrown in as a fill song. So, way to go to Delamitri for that, and I hope you check out a Delamitri album. It was some great 90s pop rock that I thoroughly enjoyed. Okay, out of the 90s into the present, and my smartphone I was talking about, and that landlines are going away. Yes, you might have them at your job. They're kind of necessary, but at your home, you don't need them. I stopped using my landline when I got my cell phone in 2002, I think was the first cell phone I had. No, wait, I had a cell phone. Yeah, it was around that era, around that time. I said, screw it, I'm going to get a cell phone. Big clunky thing. Well, compared to my smartphone. It wasn't as big as the bricks they used to have, like when you watch the old X-Files and stuff. But yeah, it is great. I like the fact that landlines are going away. I hated landlines. They tied you down. Now, we like them in radio when a guest is interviewing someone. It's best if they're on a landline, if they're calling in, because that way they're not cutting in all the time. So, there's a couple things I wanted to throw at you. It's a Friday. I'm going to move along and remind you to listen to my wonderful radio show tomorrow on Country Crossroads Radio. I'll be playing, if you listen to country music in the 90s, maybe you weren't listening to Delamitri and Roll to Me and Chris Cornell, maybe you were listening to more of the Tim McGraw and the Vince Gill and Faith Hill and Bev Neal and Rib Neal, and everybody, last name sounded like Bev Neal. All sounded like, no, Shania Twain and Dixie Chicks. Yes, we even played Dixie Chicks, and then go back and play some earlier stuff. Ronnie Millsap, Alabama, and in the 70s, what else? We got Merle Haggard, Buck Owens, 60s, Johnny Cash, etc. As far back, we go way far back, and then we play like new bluegrass and new Americana. I actually played a Wilco song last week, so check out my show. It's every weekend afternoon. I'm on now, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday and Sunday. If you're on the East Coast, that would be 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So check out my show at countrycrossroadsradio.com. And there's a link at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Also at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, you can help out the show. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, click on that Amazon link. And if you go through MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, I get a little bit from that. A tiny penny. And then there's also the PayPal. And there's past podcast pictures and past interviews. I've got alphabetized A through K right now. And you can check out some of the other ones I haven't alphabetized, going all the way back to 2011 at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Now, a segment we like to call Ain't Life Grand.
Ain't Life Grand.
I'm being positive today, is what I'm doing, because I have been kind of negative all week and getting mad at Republicans and getting mad at hypocrites. And I know there's hypocrites on both sides of the political aisle and the political spectrum, but I was just getting really down about it. That being said, Trump sucks.
Anyway.
Cafe anyway. No, he's so corrupt.
I inherited a mess. It's a mess.
oh my God, the guy that comes, or the woman that comes after you is going to inherit an even bigger mess. But you remember when Trump said,
WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks.
Well, apparently, the guy behind WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, he has gotten a nice little reprieve. Swedish prosecutors dropped an investigation today of the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, over a rape allegation. But British police said he would still be arrested if he left the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he has been holed up for 5 years. He's been in there. The only food he's been getting is Pamela Anderson dropping off food, because Pamela Anderson has decided to be his best friend. Assange, who is 45, took refuge in the embassy in June in 2012 to avoid extradition to Sweden over the rape allegation, which he denies. He feared Sweden would hand him over to the United States to face prosecution over the countless WikiLeaks publications of classified military and diplomatic documents in one of the largest information leaks in the U.S. history. Swedish Chief Prosecutor Marianne Nye said the investigation has not been able to proceed because of legal obstacles. We are not making a statement about his guilt, she said, adding that the investigation could be reopened if Assange came to Sweden before the statute of limitations deadline for the rape allegation, which will be in 2020. In other news, military-wise, 2 Chinese fighter jets intercepted a U.S. sniffer plane over the East China Sea. 2 U.S. military officials mentioned this to NBC News. Just, kind of said, hey, what happened? Sniffer plane. The WC-135 Constant Phoenix aircraft, that's its name, Constant Phoenix. It's a constant craving by Katie Lang, another song from the 90s, which sniffs the atmosphere for signs of nuclear activity, was conducting a routine mission Wednesday in international airspace over the East China Sea when the 2 Sukhoi Su-30 fighter aircraft intercepted it. The officials wouldn't say whether the confrontation was considered unsafe, but they said the crew of the U.S. plane described it as unprofessional. The U.S. plane was operating in accordance with international law. Officials said the matter was being addressed with China through appropriate diplomatic channels. As you know, we also had an issue with the Russians. We've had to intercept Russian planes over Alaska recently. And Lily from AT&T is hot. I just want you to know her picture popped up under this story on MSN and NBC News, and yikes. And I think she is from, the actress that plays the Lily in the commercials for AT&T is from, or her family is from Kazakhstan or Bulgaria or Croatia or something like that. Finally, Steve Harvey, and I'm so glad I brought you news where I've prepared ahead of time and backed up all my allegations, but Steve Harvey is facing a number of allegations leveled against him by his wife, Mary L. Vaughn, in a lawsuit filed against the host. This was on Wednesday. Yet another legal dispute following the couple's bitter divorce more than a decade ago. His second wife is suing him for $60 million, claiming during their marriage, which lasted from 1996 until their contentious divorce in 2005, she was allegedly subjected to prolonged torture with the infliction of severe mental pain and suffering. The documents also claim that Vaughn attempted suicide by self-medicating in an effort to stop the pain, and alleges that Harvey and his attorney caused severe emotional distress that led to a litany of medical conditions for Vaughn and her immediate family over the last 15 years. And she's suing for alleged child endangerment, torture, kidnapping, breach of contract, conspiracy against rights, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and soul murdering. Wow. The lawsuit also makes further claims of harassment, brainwashing, and theft by deception. Yeah, I think my divorce was pretty amicable compared to that. In a move to make lemonade out of lemons, Samsung may sell refurbished editions of its infamous Galaxy Note 7 under a new name. I'm not going to call it Galaxy Note 7. It's going to be called Galaxy Note FE. And FE stands for Fandom Edition. They ceased production and recalled the Note 7 twice after users reported in the summer of last year instances of the phone catching fire. In March of this year, Samsung stated that it will recycle returned Note 7s in an environmentally friendly way and listed turning the devices into refurbished phones or rental phones as one of the 3 core methods. A report from Korean news outlet ET News said these handsets may be called the Galaxy Note FE. Though this name may seem overly pandering to its fans, it may not be all that misguided. In January, Verizon told Fortune that thousands of people were still using their Note 7s, despite Samsung reporting that 93% of the devices had been returned. ET News also claims that the Galaxy Note FE will have a limited run, about only 30,000 units, in South Korea starting late June. Samsung has confirmed with CNET that the refurbished Note 7 would not be available in the U.S. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. The refurbished phone will have a smaller battery than the Note 7 and a lower price. Well, next show, it's going to be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Speaking of Benita, the Rodeo Queen, it is going to be a rodeo in Podcaster Valley. The rodeo is going on, and that means for my friends in the Bay Area, if you're going to be driving the 580 at all, if you're going from Castro Valley to Dublin, if you're heading eastbound this weekend, here's a thought. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just take BART or go some other way, because it's going to be a mess. Because every year the rodeo has this enormous flag that's about the size of a big parking lot, and they fly it from a crane, and traffic stops on 580 going eastbound, and it causes all these traffic accidents. I don't know why nobody has sued the Castro Valley Rodeo, or whether they call it the Rowell Ranch Rodeo, why no one has sued the Rowell family for all these accidents that happen. It is, yeah, I'm patriotic, but come on. You're causing accidents here. It's a distraction to drivers, and it needs to stop. Get a smaller flag, my God. Just because you have a bigger flag doesn't mean you're a bigger patriot. It just means you have more money to spend on fabric. So be aware of that. 580 eastbound this weekend. Thought I'd pass that along to you, to my podcast listeners in Podcaster Valley. Enjoy your weekend, though. Other than that, have a wondrous time. I got through this show without any sound effects. That's really amazing. I had to throw that one in because of the rodeo. All right, see you on the Country Crossroads Radio this weekend.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!